So I get the email comes in, and my wife, well, they want you to go run your mouth out in Washington. Well, you know, what am I going to wear? So well, you know, that's what you think when you go to speak. You know, what are you going to wear? And so she knit me this wonderful sweater by hand, and I said, I want to wear the sweater you knit me. You know, she's all choked up, but I'll tell you what. She's not going to believe, when I come home and tell her, she's not going to believe that I wore the slippers too. She ain't going to believe it. But. So anyway, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I got into this movement, why I got into it, and I'm going to integrate right into food freedom and another issue that I just chose to speak about at the last minute, and I call it falling in love with your farmer. So I grew up in Chicago, in a metropolis, great metropolis of Chicago, and you know, just like any old other story, McDonald's, fast food, microwave food, taste, price, and convenience dictated my nutritional commitment, nutritional habits, whatever you want to call it. The air quality in Chicago is enough to give you lung cancer, and you don't even have to smoke cigarettes. So by the age of 10, my body started to degenerate and express symptoms. I mean painful symptoms. At the age of 10, if you could just imagine, while all your other friends are out playing soccer, running with this robust energy, what it would be like not to be able to play with them because you don't have more energy in your body than could sustain you for 20 or 30 minutes. Or that you can't run because your joints are in that much pain. I mean, when you lose your health, and I lost it at a very young age, you start to, cherish it, and that's true for a lot of things. That in life we don't appreciate some of the stuff we have until we lost it. And I think right now, as a movement, we're starting to really understand that when it comes to freedom. Yeah. So. My parents were getting divorced at the time, so we had all this emotional stress in the house, and my dad was gone, and we went from homeless shelter to homeless shelter, my mom and my 4 siblings and I, and went to a medical doctor, terrible GI problems, blood in the stool, just losing weight, extremely pale and anemic. If you ever seen that movie, Night of the Living Dead, I looked like one of the ghouls, this like Hollywood white, that white. At first, the doctor said, this is emotional stress because the family's breaking up and stuff like that. And then after a year, they decided to do some blood tests, and they diagnosed me with Crohn's disease at the University of Chicago. And so here my mom is, and the doctor, you have Crohn's disease. And I remember being in the office when they diagnosed me, and I'll tell you right now, I broke out into tears. And I didn't know what Crohn's disease was, but I knew that this is something bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is bad, and I'm in deep doo-doo. And but he said, we can put you on some meds and this and that. So we went along with the advice of the doctor. And I'll tell you, at such a young age, I bought into the medical profession because I started feeling so great when they jacked me up on those steroids. Ooh. I did. I started feeling good. The symptoms all subsided. But I was in the medical paradigm for about 5 years, and it got to the point where the medication started catching up with me. See, when they put me on this medication, they never told me about the side effects. They never told me anything about that. And I remember I had this wristwatch on, and all of a sudden my watch started getting loose. Now if you can imagine, I put on weight on this steroid called prednisone, 60 milligrams a day. And I actually did the numbers, and I must have did like a tenth of a kilogram over about a 10-year period of this steroid. So I put on this water weight, so I was gaining a little bit of weight, and I thought I was doing better, but I didn't know that water weight was unhealthy because they don't teach you that. And when you're that young and all you don't want is the pain to go away, that's all you care about. So I got my wristwatch, and it's getting loose on my wrist, and I'm like, are my bones becoming thin? What's going on? I'm in the prime of my adolescence, like my teen years here. I'm about to get my driver's license, and I'm like, what's going on? How can I lose weight and my wrists are getting thinner? So I started to do some research about prednisone and some of these medications, and I realized what they do is, they cause osteoporosis, totally destroy all your organs, and that's when I started to wake up to a degree. But at the time we were still on, public assistance, eating total garbage welfare food, government cheese, and white flour and the cheapest stuff money could buy, because beggars can't be choosers, right? So anyway, I always did good in school, graduated high school with honors. I love business. I'm a thinker. I'm a just creative person who wants to solve challenges. And so by the age of 23, I found myself very wealthy. I had half ownership of a sports bar, 10,000 square feet, and we were making a lot of money. Now I was doing so well financially that I started eating where the higher class people eat, and we know that's called Whole Foods, right? Because it's so expensive there. Now I can afford this food. But that was the first time I ever was introduced to the concept of organic food. I mean, I never knew what organic food was. I'm there in the market, and the guy's telling me he's putting celery on the shelf. You don't know what organic food is? I said no. And then he started talking about DDT and these kinds of things and different chemicals and sprays. And I said, "Do you mean they spray poison on food? Come on, no, you're kidding." No, really. And so he's telling me about organic food. And from there, I started reading books and attending seminars and workshops and lectures, because at that point I felt like there was some hope. You have this incurable disease, and you just kind of buy into that idea, and like all the hope is gone. All right, so I started to get this idea that, no one knows everything. And, I got into a little bit of philosophy at times, and, one thing led to another, and I changed my diet, and I changed my life, and I got really engaged with the importance of raw dairy products. So here I am living in Willowbrook, southwest of Chicago. It's a suburb, and I wanted to find some really high quality organic, certified organic goat milk. And at the time, there's only 3 certified organic goat dairies in the whole country. All right, there's one in New York, one in Iowa, and one in Cashton, Wisconsin, which is close to where I live right now. So I, got a hold of the Arnolds up there, and here's a side joke that you guys are gonna love this. This is the goat dairy I'm going to get some, raw certified organic goat milk from. I go up there, it's the second trip up there, and they're showing me this Dairy Farmers magazine. And in the Dairy Farmers magazine, there was a chemical company that was advertising, they're testing out this new pesticide, and they need people to test it on. And the ad, I'm telling you, the ad was in there, and you had to rub the pesticide on your body, and it was a 2-month study, and they gave you a free t-shirt and a free television. I'm telling you, that's a side note, because when he was talking about all this stuff, I was just thinking about it. Yeah, it's that insane. It's that insane. And so I find Rita and Alan Arnold, and they're great people, and it's like a 5-hour drive one way from where I'm living, right? And so I'm like, well, I'm willing to do anything to repair my health. Whatever it takes. If I have to walk across a continent, that's what I'm going to do, because, I was just so unhappy, unhealthy. Life wasn't worth living anymore. So for me, it was either get my health back or die trying. So it's 5 hours one way. It's a 10-hour trip, round trip, and I'm doing this every week to bring back fresh milk, and I'm making kefir and all this good stuff, that we do with fresh milk. And Dr. Mercola, he's got the #1 natural health website in the world. He's in the Chicagoland area, and he hears about what I'm doing, right? So he starts sending me patients. We got a source for some certified organic goat milk, and this is like rare stuff. So one thing led to another, and I'm like, well, let me think something here, I'm paying about like $50 a gallon for my milk. When you figure in the gas and all the other stuff, it's like $50 a gallon. So I'm thinking, why don't I mark it up a little bit? And here I am, the business guy who used to own the sports bar. And before, one thing led to another, and other chiropractors or natural health practitioners in the Chicagoland area started sending us their patients. It just grew and grew in the patients. And people are coming, I'm talking about, I brought raw milk to, the producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show, all right, she's got a son who's autistic. They tried some raw milk, but 3 deliveries, and then, they want a quick fix. Yeah. And it wasn't going to happen with 3 deliveries. So here I am, and I'm driving up to this area, and I want to, Man, I wish I could show you a picture, but just use your imagination for a second. All right, this area I'm driving up to. Now, I live in Chicago my whole life, where you got like the Sears Tower, and you can eat on the 95th floor of the John Hancock building, and you got, this and that, and sewers and ghettos, and that's all you know. All right? And if you drive out into the country in Illinois, everything is flat as can be. So I'm up in this area of Wisconsin, and there's rolling hills, like small-sized mountains and valleys, and there's springs, like water coming out of the ground, and you can just put your jar down and drink it. And it's just this amazing thing where the way the land is, there's all these organic farms, because the big agriculture companies have a hard time exploiting land that's like this. There's all these organic farms, and I'm like thinking, I live down in Chicago, and I drive up there one day a week. What if I lived up there and drove down to Chicago one day a week? And I don't know where that idea came from, but it was just like, bam. So there I was. We moved up there. My wife, we had one child at the time. Now we have 3. And, up we went. We just kind of went on the fly. It was just, we don't know how we're going to work this out, but we'll find somewhere, and up we go. And so some years pass, and I decide, I'm gonna really, put some energy behind this movement. I'm gonna ride a bike across the country, and I want to do it on raw milk and stop from dairy farm to dairy farm and just, make it all on raw milk. And I'm going to show them, I'm going to prove the government, and look how dumb they are. And this is what I'm thinking, because you think of these projects, and of course the project's going to be this great, huge thing, and everyone in the world's going to say how great it was and all this stuff. And so anyway, as I'm dreaming this idea in my head, one of the people who gets milk from our milk organization that brings milk down to Chicago from Wisconsin gave some milk to her son's friend who came over to visit. And now a week later, the fever, vomiting, headache, mom brings child to the emergency room. What? Child had raw milk a week ago? Well, that's the cause of all these problems. Yeah. So the FDA shows up at this lady's house. Now, not only is she getting milk from me, but she's getting milk from this other dude, Richard Hebron. Some of you may know that name. Yeah, because they gave him the good old-fashioned sting operation about 3 years back, and they pulled him over on the side of the highway, and they did the double sting. SWAT team went into the barn and the house and harassed the wife at the same time while the other team pulled him over on the side of the road. Maybe you heard about it. So anyway, she's getting milk from this guy. So she doesn't know what to think. The lady who gave the milk to the child's friend, because she didn't know, did I get the milk from Max or this other guy? I don't know what to do. So they go up and they do this preliminary test for brucellosis, which is this incurable disease that you get from drinking raw milk. And the FDA did a preliminary test that really didn't mean much, and they give you false positives all the time. And they brought it to this lady, and they said, I want the information where you're getting this milk from, or you're going to jail, because this is serious stuff. He's got this disease, and he's having it for the rest of his life, and it's incurable, and that's the end of it. So she gives him my name and number, Richard's name and number, and she calls us both up and said, the feds are calling you, so expect something, So I said, come on, really? You gave me up? Come on. But, life goes on.